The 4 decades of rock on 106.1 Rock Radio. All this week, the 60s. If you can remember it, you probably weren't there. Today, the movies.
We're going to talk now to Darren from LoveFilm. Hi, Darren.
Hi, Steve. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, my friend, and we're going to talk about the 60s in the movies now because it's 60s week.
Yep.
I made a list of some of the films that I wanted to talk about, and it got to like 3 pages, so we're just... It's just, what an incredible decade it was in the movies, the 60s, wasn't it? Both here and in Europe and, of course, in the States, although particularly in Britain.
Astonishing, actually, a complete melting pot, really. I think it's always difficult to divide things down into neat decades, isn't it? You know, we'd had the 50s, which was really where TV culture had begun. So the studio had to fight, really. Warner Brothers decided to go into TV production of all those Western shows like Maverick and all that sort of business. So they were beginning to kind of hedge their bets a bit. But there was all sorts of things going on all over the place. So in America, it was looking a bit iffy. They weren't sure. But over here, we had some interesting stuff going on.
Well, yeah, I was going to talk to you about the new wave of British cinema.
Yeah.
Of fantastic movies, which I watch obsessively, like Saturday Night and Sunday Morning, The Loneliness and Long Distance Runner, This Sporting Life, The Leather Boys, all those fantastic movies. But the acting, the dialogue, the situations, it was all new, wasn't it? The working lives of ordinary people had not been a staple diet of the cinema before then.
It's funny, you hear about people like Ken Loach talks about 2 decades on about bringing British kitchen sink drama to the cinema, but the reality was it happened 20 years before that. This first got a peak sort of under the duvet cover and under the kitchen table of people's lives, and it was gritty. I mean, eye-watering stuff, really.
It was. I mean, the themes were challenging. One of my favourite movies from that time, for obvious reasons, is The Leather Boys, which is a film set in London in about 1962, and it portrays the lives of young people who are on the sort of rocker scene, the cafe racer rocker scene. But the central theme of the movie, and it's something that really was not explored at the time, was a young man's confused sexuality. He can't decide whether he likes girls or boys, and that really had not been a feature of British movies up until then.
The director of The Young Ones reveals the other side of the picture in a film that traces the switchback course of a teenage marriage today. Rita Tushingham, that taste of honey girl, as Dot, the 16-year-old bride. Also starring Dudley Sutton as Pete, a gay, good-time bachelor and Reg's best friend. Or was he?
Well, I don't understand you, Reggie, you know.
I'm going to give it a try.
Well, I don't understand you. I mean, I don't see what you want to go back to Dot for.
For crying out loud, Pete.
It's sex and violence all the way in the 60s. It's hilarious, really, for a decade that's characterised by being sort of hopeful and fun and easily cliched by this sort of, it was hippie time. When it came to British cinema, it was sex and violence in actually a load of different ways. You mentioned stuff like Saturday Night, Sunday Morning, This Sporting Life. I mean, that was it was realism. I mean, it was brutal.
Well, the most real of them all was probably the one that was set here in Salford, from which I speak to you, A Taste of Honey, from Sheila Delaney's book. A lot of people might have studied that book at school. They probably saw the movie as part of that. Rita Tushingham is incredible as an unmarried mother. It's, you know, and these things were not talked about.
Hey, I've got something for you. Well, I got it from the clinic, you know. I thought you could practice a few holds on it.
The colour's wrong.
What?
The colour's wrong. I'll bash its brains out and kill it. I don't want this baby, Jeff. I don't want to be a mother. I don't want to be a woman.
What's fascinating to me is you had that going on at the same time as, say, the Bond movie started, which was a very casual approach to sex and violence.
Well, do you know what, Darren? That was exactly what I've got it written down here. I was going to say, contrast British New Wave with the Bond movies. They really were from both ends of the spectrum, weren't they?
I admire your luck, Mr.
Bond. James Bond.
You've got this theory, you see, it's sex and violence however you want it, really. If you wanted it real, you went for the gritty stuff. If you wanted it casual, you went for Bond. If you wanted it bawdy, picture postcard, seaside type stuff, you went for Carry On. And do you know what? The Hammer horror stuff, that had an awful lot of sex in it as well. It was almost all about lust, really. So it was sex and violence all the way. But the Bond thing and the Carry On thing starting at the same time was fascinating as well. It was, you know, Carry On, first movie, 1958, ran for 20 years and 30 movies.
The early carry-ons are very subdued. There's very little of this outrageous sexual innuendo that would follow. But it's really, I think it was the same producer, wasn't it? Gerald Thomas and Peter Rogers, who were the two guys principally responsible. But when they got Talbot Rothwell on board, he was the guy who did Frying Tonight and, you know, all that sort of stuff. He came up with all the catchphrases.
I think there's something to that sort of cocktail of cinema there, that people wanted a bit of the other, but they didn't always want it gritty and full in your face. They sometimes wanted it a bit casual. They sometimes wanted it, you know, a bit saucy, really, which is how we got all of the carry-on stuff.
Highest grossing film at the British box office in 1969, Carry On Camping.
It's astonishing, really.
It is, because...
You know, in some ways, you feel, should we be proud of that? I suppose it's Babs Windsor, isn't it? It's her flinging that bikini top off in that famous scene, and she's a national institution, but there's part of me that feels a tiny bit dirty about it.
And fling and in, and fling and in, and fling Oh, matron, take them away.
If you were a gentleman, you'd close your eyes.